The race for the next Pickens County Sheriff is on. A crowded Republican primary with 5 candidates making their case to voters. It's a race we're watching closely here at Fox Carolina News ahead of the June 11th primary. And one of the candidates running for Pickens County Sheriff is David Harrison. So, Mr. Harrison, thank you so much for taking some time with us. One of many now running for Pickens County Sheriff. So I like to start these the same way for everybody. Why run for sheriff and what motivated you to run?
First off, thank you for having me. The motivating factor for me to run for sheriff in Pickens County was years ago as a law enforcement officer, but as a citizen over there, I started seeing a lot of missed opportunities. And it just kind of started playing in my mind and over. Of course, I'm at the part of my career where I'm winding down, and I thought, I'm going to throw my name in the hat, see if I can make a difference.
So you say missed opportunities. What were those missed opportunities? And how do you make sure they're no longer missed?
Right. So we know that the upstate area in general is growing by leaps and bounds. And Pickens County is no different, especially Easley and Clemson. Well, with growth comes crime. And any police officer will tell you that. I started noticing that the amount of deputies that we have on the road, the uniform patrol deputies, really wasn't changing and hadn't for years. Those are the guys and girls that we see every day in the fully marked vehicles, uniforms, responding to calls. You've got to have a law enforcement presence. You've got to have a strong presence of your uniformed deputies, because that is the ultimate deterrent to keep criminals away and to keep crime down.
Right.
So I'm wanting to bolster those numbers and get back to basics.
And that leads me to my next question. You mentioned on your website that you want to cut expensive and unnecessary positions to create more uniformed deputy positions. So what are those positions then that you intend to cut so that way you have more of those uniformed deputies? Yeah,
the positions that I refer to are technically admin positions that could be handled by a citizen or a civilian employee versus a deputy sheriff. Kind of condense and combine some of those jobs and get those uniforms, again, back out on the street.
Okay. In regards of what you want to do, covered a bit of that. Let's go and take a step back. What kind of experience would you bring to the position?
So, I started out my career in early 2000 with the South Carolina Highway Patrol. And working the state, working for a large agency, and moving around and being responsible for a lot of people in this state. That right there in and of itself gives me a leg up. When I left the Highway Patrol in 2017, was recruited to the Greenville County Sheriff's Office to start up their criminal interdiction unit to work the 85 corridor here. I did that because I had traveled for 17 years, basically lived out of a suitcase. I was doing the same criminal interdiction with the Highway Patrol, but with a dog, so that kicked it up a notch. But I went from one large agency to another large agency. And so I see things on a much broader scale. I'm now doing investigations for Greenville County. And so I've shifted gears from seizing large amounts of drugs or narcotics to now investigating overdose deaths and dealing with the families and the fallout from the drugs that do not get seized. So I'm seeing both sides of it. We have a huge drug problem. Yeah. And it's not just Pickens County. It's the entire country, and we kind of wrest our way out of that problem. We've been trying since the 70s when they started the war on drugs. I know that you've got to have education, enforcement, and then some form of rehabilitation available for folks who do want to get clean.
And again, you mentioned it is one of the biggest issues facing here in the upstate and around the country: fentanyl overdose deaths. Yes. Drug overdose death. So you mentioned some of those factors that you think are necessary. We can't arrest our way out of it, as you said. So in regards of the education, in regards of the rehabilitation, as sheriff, what can you do to make sure you are able to curb those numbers in Pickens County?
Well, so going towards the education side of things, I know when I was a child and went through school, we had the DARE program. It was a very basic, low-cost program, but that scared me from wanting to be around drugs. And back then, when I was in school, you know, the biggest thing was marijuana. That's obviously changed now at this time. But, you know, bringing the DARE program back, having officers, uniformed officers, go speak at church groups, youth groups, school assemblies, to get to the young folks early and let them know what the dangers are. And that's huge to me. Again, the DARE program is a very inexpensive and effective way to do that.
And you had mentioned the DARE program. Well, remember, just say no.
Yep.
Kind of one of those situations. Would that be easy to do, you think, as sheriff, to be able to implement that education process?
I do. I think that the Pickens County Sheriff's Office has a good working relationship with the school district of Pickens County. Obviously, you've got the SRO programs and things like that that are already in place. I think making that happen outside of a little bit of money is a no-brainer.
Okay, real quickly here before we wrap up, day one as sheriff, what would that look like for you?
Probably a lot of phone calls, a lot of meetings, and a lot of shaking hands with the deputies and getting to know each and every one of them and start building that relationship.
All right, David Harrison, candidate for Pickens County Sheriff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.